Hello, everybody. Welcome in to today's webinar. We do have just a couple of minutes left, about 3 minutes actually. And my co-host Kristen will be in here in just a minute. So I do have a little question for you, which is please share your location in the chat. I figured while people are coming in, I would ask that question because it is one of my favorite questions to ask, but that will save us a little bit of time. So if you can go on and let us know in the chat. The chat is open, so you should be able to put that in there. Thank you. I see we've got, let's see, Olympia, Washington, Bowling Green, Kentucky, Marshall, Minnesota, Atlanta, Georgia, the UK, Michigan, Connecticut, Israel. Wow. Arizona, Michigan, Virginia, Pennsylvania. Montana, France, another international friend, Massachusetts, Arkansas, Harrisburg, I'm guessing Virginia maybe, Michigan, Pennsylvania, okay. New York, Colorado, nice. Right. I love seeing it. I see my friend Destiny is here. Hi, Destiny. In Texas. Or should I say howdy? Is that silly? Maybe. Oh, we've got Uganda in the house. Georgia. I'm also in Georgia, Carlos. Awesome. We've got Tucson, Arizona, York, Pennsylvania. So cool to see where everybody is coming from today. Ooh, is there bad reverb? Does anybody else hear reverb on my microphone? Okay. All right. I've got no reverb from Paula and Ann, so hopefully I'm okay. Sorry, Eric. That you're hearing some reverb, but I'm glad it's not only me, or not only you, I guess. All right, so I will go on and get us started in just 1 minute. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Ooh, good point. If you have two windows open, you might be hearing a little bit of reverb. So make sure that you only have one window open here. All right. Okay. No worries, Eric. Just making sure you're good to go. Nobody wants to listen to somebody's voice duplicated, for the whole webinar. So I am right there with you in making sure that you're good to go today. All right. Oh, Kristen's here. Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
Awesome. All right. So I am joined by my colleague Kristen, who, if you have been on a webinar with Kristen and I before, we have not had the pleasure of doing a webinar together since like last February, I think, or maybe 2 Februaries ago.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So very excited that Kristen offered to step in and co-host with me today. Ben, who is kind of the other person that you normally see on our webinars, is on a much deserved vacation this week. So excited for him and also excited that I get to spend some time with all of y'all and my friend Kristen. And then my friends Amira and Greg, who also work at ScreenPal, are in the chat to help away, type away, and help us with any questions that you guys may have during today's webinar. So, again, thank you for being here. Super excited to get this kicked off. All right. Here we go. So again, my name is Sarah. If you're on your first webinar with us, I kind of lead, I guess, our webinars here at ScreenPal, our webinar initiatives, and a lot of our in-person events, although Amira is taking over a little bit more of that from me, which I am happy to hand over the reins to so that I can do even more of these awesome virtual synchronous events with you guys. I am located in Augusta, Georgia. And if you know anything about golf, what that means is my traffic situation is about to get real serious next week because the Masters is coming to Augusta, which ironically, in moving to Augusta, I didn't really realize what that would entail. They literally lined up my daughter's spring break with the Masters because the town gets so crazy for the Masters and so busy. So it's been really fun to kind of see Augusta get cleaned up, if you will. Not that it was dirty before, but really get cleaned up and put on its best face for all of the public coming to watch the Masters tournament. So, Kristen, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So I'm Kristen, as it says. I'm the technical writer here at ScreenPal. I also am proud to say that I create the video tutorials. So if you ever go to our site and you watch the wonderful tutorials there, those are mine. I use the product every day, quite a bit, so I can answer any and all questions you have. I'm sure I've got tips. And I am located in North Carolina, near Raleigh. Not quite as big of a golf town, but it's fun.
Came from one golf town to another. We were outside of Pinehurst and now we're in Augusta. So, which is ironic because we're actually part of the military. So, go figure. But thank you again, Kristen, for joining me today. I am really excited to share this time with you. All right. So, just to make sure you're in the right place at the right time, our session today is get ADA ready, fast track your video accessibility before the Title II deadline. So, what might have caught your eye for today's session could have been the Title II deadline piece, the ADA piece. It could be the word accessibility, and you just love accessibility. You want to make sure that all of your content is accessible as possible. Whatever drew your eye to this session, we are so glad that you are here. This session is specifically for ScreenPal users who will be impacted by the Title II ADA requirements. If you're like, what does that even mean? Don't worry, we'll tell you in a second. Okay, so we can determine whether or not you are impacted. Although hopefully the institution or organization that you came from might have told you that you will be impacted before this point, since it is coming up at the end of April. And there are lots of government funded entities, especially state and federal agencies, that are going to be impacted by the Title II ADA requirements. What you'll need today, ScreenPal team plan with audio description. So if you don't have a team plan, don't worry. We can contact you regarding starting a team plan. If you're a business user, that's 3 or more people. For our education friends, that's 10 or more people. So it could be a department-wide team, it could be a school-wide team, it could be a district-wide team, an agency-wide team, you name it. Audio descriptions, though, specifically, which is one of the features we'll be talking about, is not available on our solo plans. If you don't have access to them and you're like watching this webinar and you think to yourself, wow, we need this because of Title II ADA legislation requirements, contact support@screenpal.com for pricing and details. What you'll walk away with today, a clear and practical plan to make your videos compliant, including actionable steps that you can implement immediately. So, to help us during the webinar, I'll hand it over to Kristen for what you need to say in the chat.
Yes, so we would like to hear more about you. If you want to share who you support, which organization, and the current role that you're in, you can just type it there. Everybody's mics are muted for now.
Yeah. We do have the chat open, so please chat and back forth, chat and back forth. Chat back. We gonna try that again. Chat back and forth as much as you would like. In my defense, I got up a little earlier this morning to go sing happy birthday to my child at school. So it's been a long morning for me, which I'm sure it has been for a lot of y'all. But example, I would put in the chat that I am the community engagement manager for ScreenPal, and I support any ScreenPal users who are learning how to use the tool as well as building the ScreenPal community. So it looks like we've got lots of teachers in here, lots of people in support and training, some college instructors, college professors, which is awesome. Lots of distance education. We have a ton of distance education users. Um, Training. Oh, even a missionary. That's really cool. I bet you will like our translation features if you're going to multiple countries as a missionary. Faculty at a university, online instructor. Ooh, a corporate travel consultant. It sounds like you maybe get to go to some fun places in that position. I'm a little jealous. So let's talk about really quick what you actually need to know. Now, this may be old news to some of us, but I wanted to make sure that starting this webinar, since we are focusing on ADA compliance, that we all know what ADA compliance looks like, especially regarding Title II. So, what does Title II ADA require? What are audio descriptions, the deadlines? I jokingly say one rule to rule them all. I grew up a bit of a Harry Potter and Tolkien fan, so here we are. And when to apply the audio descriptions. So, what does Title II ADA require? In the most simple wording possible, it's that public institutions and agencies must meet WCAG 2.2 AA for video accessibility. So, this applies to colleges, universities, K-12, and government agencies. Audio descriptions, if maybe you had not heard of what an audio description was before, I didn't mean to do a pun when I say heard of audio descriptions. But it is narration of important visuals for people who can't see them. So, some other key items that ScreenPal also supports outside of audio descriptions is captions. So, for Title II ADA compliance, it's captions and audio descriptions are your two key requirements. But we also offer interactive transcripts, pause and stop functionality, and a contrast ratio of 4.5 to 1. So if you're worried about any of those additional features for accessibility, then you can also meet all of those features using ScreenPal. The deadlines, it's April 2026 for larger entities. I believe it's April 24th, 2026, which is 50,000 plus. So if you serve 50,000 plus people, and if you serve less than 50,000 people, even though your deadline may not be this April, it is projected to be next April of 2027. So even if it doesn't affect you next month, it could still affect you next year. So if that's your case, then congratulations, you're getting ahead of the curve here. One simple rule, which is my one rule to rule them all. Maybe that will help you remember it since it's very Lord of the Rings-y. If visuals aren't explained in your audio, you need audio descriptions. So we're going to show you some examples during today's webinar of visuals that, of course, need audio descriptions. And Greg put in the chat a really great blog post that we wrote that focuses on when you need those audio descriptions in your videos. So if you want it to be a little bit more in depth than the quick overview that I gave you here, you can check out that blog post for some more information. And then when to apply the descriptions. These are some specific scenarios when you would need to apply audio descriptions that are pretty common. If you have a video with the visuals not spoken, then you need audio descriptions. If you narrate the visuals, though, you don't necessarily need audio descriptions for that portion. If you don't have audio in your video at all, then excuse me, if it's a no audio video, you need audio descriptions or a transcript. If it's audio only without visuals, you don't need audio descriptions. You do need a transcript though. And if it's a live video, it does require captions to be ADA compliant. So just a couple of scenarios that we're commonly asked about regarding what needs to be included for those different pieces. All right, so on a scale of 1 to 5, now that we've kind of gone over the audio descriptions and the ADA compliance, how likely is it that your organization or institution will be affected by ADA compliance? Oh, I did emojis for this and they didn't show up. So one is not at all likely and five is extremely likely. You guys were like, I'm just going to figure this out. We're going to put numbers in the chat. So thank you. We've got a lot of people saying extremely likely or very likely here. Some middle of the road friends, which is fine. Hopefully, I gave a good enough description of when you need captions and audio descriptions. Okay. So, what I did to help you guys that are on this maybe four or five of the scale, it's very likely or extremely likely, and you're starting to already think about creating new content that includes captions and audio descriptions and is fully accessible, or you have legacy content that you need to make fully accessible, is I put together a fast track framework to help assist you with that process. So, Kristen, what is our fast track framework?
So fear not, because this sounds like a lot, but ScreenPal is here to help. So you are going to audit your content. So what that means is just determine what are the videos that are most watched, most popular, most important. Then you're going to fix what exists. So anything that is going to make you ADA compliant that you don't have yet, go ahead and do that. And create accessibility moving forward. So as you create new content, make sure that you're adding captions. Audio descriptions, you can even avoid adding audio descriptions by talking about visuals in your video as you narrate it, and then just distributing your content in a way that will make it accessible.
Thank you. So, we're going to kind of go over the actual framework here really quick, and then we're going to go over more in depth a couple of these steps for how to utilize this framework to your advantage as you make your content fully accessible to all of your learners. So, the first step is to audit your content. So, you're going to identify which videos are in active use for teaching, training, or communication at your institution. We actually do have a way that you can do that using our data analytics at screenpal.com. So we're going to share that with you in just a few minutes. You're also going to flag any content with essential visuals not described in audio because these require audio descriptions. Don't forget anything that's for marketing or recruitment, like it might not be something that you're already using, but if it is public facing, you do need to have audio descriptions on those. And anything that might be like student employee communication, you need to have your accessibility features on those as well. Not all content has to be fixed at once. You can focus on what's going to have the biggest impact. So, the really nice thing about the Title II ADA regulations is that you do have some time to fix that legacy content. And that's why we wanted to also show you how to create accessibly moving forward. So the second step is to fix what exists. So you're going to upload your video to ScreenPal. You can use Generate with AI to add the captions and audio descriptions. And then you can add audio descriptions to your existing caption videos and make quick edits to prioritize your progress there. And then to create accessibly moving forward, you just want to make sure that you're building accessibility into your workflow from the beginning. It's much better to do this than have to retrofit accessibility to your videos later. When recording new content, focus on narrating the key visuals and utilizing clear audio. I am actually not using my microphone while I do webinars, but a lot of people on our team do use microphones. My speakers are pretty good and my microphone in my MacBook. But you can leverage our tools to automatically generate new captions, to add translations where you need to, and also create audio descriptions when your visuals aren't fully explained. What will also help you is to set simple team standards. And if you're like, that's a really great thing for you to say, Sarah, but how do I actually set simple team standards? Don't worry, I made you a handy dandy checklist because your girl is type A and she loves a checklist. So I have a checklist for you to set simple team standards and make sure that you are creating content that is ADA compliant as you move forward. And then the last step in our framework today is to distribute correctly. So, one of the keys with ScreenPal when you're sharing videos that you've created captions and audio descriptions for is to share the ScreenPal hosted video through a link and embed or through your learning management system. This will ensure that the captions and the audio descriptions are enabled. Of course, you can also preview as a user, preview as a viewer, I should say, to make sure that the captions and audio descriptions are visible after you publish. And again, you want to use ScreenPal hosting to preserve those accessibility features in your videos. So, another question for you, because I just want to make sure that you're awake out there, is what step of the fast track framework is your organization most likely in right now? So the first step was auditing your content. The next one was fixing what exists, creating accessibly moving forward. Like maybe you've already audited all your content and you're looking for a solution to create accessibly as you create new content. If you're maybe you've already audited, you already know how to create accessibly, and you're like, how do I distribute and make sure that I have captions and audio descriptions? Or none of the above. You're like, look, I'm just here to learn. This is all news to me, but we're going to have a good day together. Okay. We've got lots of none of the aboves, and that's perfectly fine. We're all here to learn together, right? We've got some distribute correctly. We've got some auditing, so people are already starting to think about. And then we've got fixing what's left on the fly. Yes, that is relatable, Nick. I totally understand that. And making everyone put in captioning, but still kind of fixing the audio descriptions. We're going to show you how, if you've already run AI to create captions, you can still run AI just for audio descriptions as well. So we've got lots of solutions for every step of the framework that you may be in along the way. So the first step of our framework is to audit and update legacy content. So our goal for this section is to show you how to quickly bring existing videos into compliance. So how do I prioritize and figure out what videos we're using that we need to make sure are compliant first? What are the key fixes that I need to make to those videos? How can I use ScreenPal AI to lessen the time I have to spend on fixing those videos? And also some other time-saving tips using ScreenPal AI. So for these, we're going to have a couple more slides and then I'm going to show you exactly how to do all of this live on our site. So don't worry. I'm going to have all of that listed for you in just a few minutes. So how to prioritize what you audit. Not all content has to be fixed at once. You want to focus on what's going to have the biggest impact and what is high traffic. So we have this picture here of what high traffic looks like, so that you kind of know what you're looking for when you go back into your data analysis to see what has high traffic. You want to look for your frequently used videos here. And you want content that's tied to active courses, training programs, or communications. And then, Kristen, what are the key fixes that we're going to talk about today?
So, key fixes are making sure that your captions are accurate because captions don't necessarily help very much if they're not accurate. And the AI that we have is really good, but it makes mistakes occasionally. The other day, I got ScreenPal instead of PAL for some of my captions. Making sure you have a transcript, which we do. It will, when it generates your chapters, captions, etc., it will generate a transcript as well that your users can view. And you can, well, your users can also translate that transcript into their own language. So we'll show you that too. And then making sure that you have audio descriptions, which Sarah kind of touched on when those are required. And we will show you how to do that as well. But
Yeah.
those are the three big things that you need.
Thank you. All right. So, I'm going to go straight to ScreenPal now because that's kind of the more exciting part than us staying here on the slides. But I wanted to give you like a nice overview of what we'll be talking about. So where I am right now is screenpal.com. Now, this is assuming that you have imported your content into screenpal.com. So you can either send it over from our video editor. You can actually edit online too. That was our last webinar that we focused on. But if maybe you uploaded your content already, now a really easy way to fix is to import directly into screenpal.com. So what's really great is you can actually click upload content here and you can drag and drop from your desktop, but I'm just going to click on upload and I'm going to click on my desktop here. And I downloaded our MP4 of a tutorial that Kristen created. Shout out to Kristen for all those awesome tutorials that I'm sure you guys watch when you need help with a tool. So I just imported that video, and my account actually has a setting turned on that it will automatically run ScreenPal AI when I upload a video. So that is something that you can do on the admin side to make your life a little bit easier, to make sure that everyone at your organization or at your institution is making accessible videos, is by turning that on automatically. So again, you just want to contact either support at screenpal.com, or if you have a customer success um, representative that you're working with, then you can talk to them about that, about turning on that option. So you see it ran my ScreenPal AI there, loaded, I should say. And now I'm going to click on generate ScreenPal AI, generating my script. So this is going to generate my captions. Okay. This will also, since this is a new upload, automatically add my audio descriptions to this video as well. Now, what's really great about our audio descriptions feature is if you uploaded and already ran AI on a different video, like you have the captions, but maybe you were like, we need audio descriptions, and then you added audio descriptions to your account after adding the captions to your account, you can still go in and add those audio descriptions. So it's loading my audio descriptions now. Of course, it is a little more time consuming for the AI to run the audio descriptions than the captions, but I believe we have a couple of videos that have captions but not audio descriptions in our team content here. So if you didn't know this and you're working on a team plan, what was really nice even before this webinar was Kristen was like, hey, I've got a couple of videos that I can upload into the team plan and then you can use them during the webinar. And I was like, sold, because now I don't have to find videos to use during the webinar. So I've got my content here, which is everything that I've uploaded, but I can also view my team content. And these are the videos that Kristen uploaded for me. So now I can go to those two videos and I can click on manage. And then I can generate the AI for those videos as well. So I'm going to click on ScreenPal AI generate script. And since I hadn't generated the AI yet, it's going to generate the script for me on those two videos as well. So you can import or upload an existing video directly into screenpal.com. You're going to use Generate with AI to create your captions and to review and then edit those captions. And then you can add your audio descriptions. Ooh, you know what? This is actually really good because this one doesn't talk, right, Kristen? This one just says this
Yeah,
dance, I think.
it's just music, I think.
Yep. So this one is mainly music. So it's saying it can't determine the language in the video because it's mainly just music. But I can still add audio descriptions to this video as well. Okay. Let me go back over to my content here and go to mine, and I'm going to use the video that I just uploaded. So I'm going to click on manage here. And then you can see it's still working on my audio descriptions. But I've got my closed captions here. And what I really love about ScreenPal's editor is that I can actually edit my captions. So Kristen mentioned she was working on a video and it kept doing PAL instead of ScreenPal in the captions. So when that happens, I can just come over here and edit. Oh, look, it actually, I swear our captions are getting smarter as we use them more because it used to always have a space between screen and pal when I did the captions, and now it's got screen pal as one word. So as I use more and more of them, it seems to get even smarter. Isn't that what AI does anyway? I guess.
And it's very smart
Um,
with well-known words. It's mostly like industry terms or company names or things that are specific to your organization or your industry that it might have a little bit more trouble with.
mhm. Or spelling, like sometimes if a Sarah doesn't have an H, it might put an H at the end of Sarah or vice versa. So sometimes name spellings you might need to go through and correct a little bit more. But it's really easy to do that there. So I can just click in here and edit any of my captions that I have. So maybe I don't need seen. This is very nitpicky, right? I probably wouldn't necessarily change the word seen being capitalized there, but I'm just looking for something to change. I don't need to capitalize seen or facial because they aren't proper nouns. So I would just go in and delete those capital letters, change them, then scroll down to the bottom. And then I would click on save. Let's see. I don't know why mine isn't showing. I don't really have a banner up. There it goes. So you look for that save button. I just had to minimize my screen a little bit. Sometimes you'll have a banner running at the top and that'll confuse me. So just make sure that you see that save button and that you click save there at the bottom, and that will edit your closed captions there.
I also want to add real quick that you can change the timestamp of the captions. So if you feel like they're not synced exactly right, you can click in that little time and edit that as well.
Oh, I didn't know that, Kristen.
Oh,
I was today years old when I
hot
learned.
tip.
Hot tip for real. So if you feel like, so I believe our system runs an audio description, is it every 12 seconds, right? Or something, 5 seconds? I don't know. Greg's gonna correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Um, it runs it every once in a while, more than every once in a while. It runs it routinely, but maybe you're like, oh, I want to move this audio description to the right a little or to the left a little. Then you can click right there and change that timestamp on the audio description. That is a hot tip, Kristen. I love that. Thank you. All right, or on that caption, I should say. Now, my audio descriptions have finished loading, so I'm going to click on AD. And my audio descriptions in my video are here highlighted in this lighter blue color. So again, just like with my captions, I can click my cursor directly into the audio description box and edit it. If you feel like maybe there's too many audio descriptions or it's playing too long, right? I mean, we are trying to be as descriptive as possible to make sure that whoever is listening to the video gets an image in their head of what they're viewing, of what they would be viewing, I should say. Then you can edit this as well. So maybe I'm like, we don't really need the audio description text box appears. So maybe I don't want to include that there. So I would just delete that portion out. Again, scroll down until I see save down there at the bottom. There it is. And then I would click on save, and that will save my audio descriptions with that deletion there on that 24-second mark. Let me make that a little bit bigger again. My words are so tiny, you probably can't even see them. I can barely see them, and I'm looking at my own screen. So, and then when you play your video, now what kind of gets me sometimes is I'll click play, but I don't necessarily have the audio descriptions turned on. So you might be like, wait, I ran the audio descriptions. Where are they? So make sure that here in the player that this AD button is actually like turned white, right? Is highlighted there to hear the audio descriptions. So when I click on play,
A solid dark navy blue rectangle with no discernible features, objects, or text.
Audio descriptions provide spoken information for people with visual disabilities.
so there's my actual narration in the video. And then I'm going to go to that 12-second mark. And when I click play again,
A scenic view replaces
it's going to pause my video and play the audio description of what is visually present in the video for anybody that couldn't see that scenic view, quote unquote, in this case, while they are listening to the video content. Now you can turn that on and off as you preview your video again. And one thing that's really great about our audio descriptions is it's not limited to any one viewer of the video or any one listener. Anybody can turn these on and off. So if, like one of our example videos, you're looking at a cell diagram and maybe I'm having trouble even seeing everything that's in that diagram, I can also, as a viewer of the content, turn on the audio descriptions to assist myself. If you're like me and maybe you can't watch TV without the captions turned on, which drives everyone else that I watch TV with crazy, but I need the captions turned on even when I watch TV, you can also turn on and off the audio descriptions to help you understand the content in our videos. Okay. All right, now let's look at one of those ones that Kristen uploaded here that's maybe a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to look at this plant cell one. Shout out to any of you guys that are teachers and maybe teach, I don't know, it was ninth grade, I think, that was biology when I was in the classroom. I did world history. So ninth or 10th grade, I think. But you see this button here that says add audio descriptions. So this is one that doesn't have any narration. It just has the images, and I can add audio descriptions for those images. So I'm going to click add audio descriptions. So normally it would say generate with ScreenPal AI, but in this case, I've got add audio descriptions. Now, anything that you have used ScreenPal AI on to generate captions in the past, and maybe now want to generate audio descriptions for, will have that same generate audio descriptions button. And again, it is going to take a second because it's multiple images over that 1 minute. And these images, because they are very much described cell diagrams, will take a second for my audio descriptions to run. Any other tips that I missed, Kristen, while we're patiently waiting?
I'm trying to think. The biggest thing is that you can avoid this by simply describing key graphics in your video when you narrate it. We have free narration tools in the video editor. So if you do have a plan that doesn't have this included in ScreenPal AI, you just leave time and do the audio description yourself. But this is a super easy way to add them to a lot of videos if you need to.
Yeah, especially if maybe you're affected at the end of April and you're kind of like, we have to do this now, and you don't have time to audit and fix any of those pieces where you don't have the audio descriptions, then you can do that. I'm going to click on AD here, and so then you can see like this is a much more in-depth as far as visuals video than the tutorial that we were just looking at. So you can see this is title changes to the plant cell wall. So it's telling me the title, text explaining adjacent plant cell communication. So it is actually telling me everything that's in that image there. And I would just click on play with my audio. Look, I did the same thing that I told y'all not to do. I didn't turn on the AD. I would just click on play there and then I would hear my audio description read aloud. But you can see it gets much more like this has no actual narration. But like Kristen said, one way to avoid that happening is to go on and narrate your video, what's visually included in your video as you record your screen. So that's another way. And then you can also add your own audio descriptions to the video. So I can click on the plus here. I can insert a caption, I can insert a chapter, and I can insert an audio description. So maybe you even feel like this audio description isn't enough. You can obviously click right there into the audio description and add, but you could also insert additional audio descriptions on the video. So you can manually edit the audio descriptions as well. Having that AI feature though is just a way to quickly audit and update any of your legacy content that you may be working with that you want to make sure is updated in time for that ADA compliance deadline. Okay. All right. I think we're feeling good. Let me just check the chat. We've got excitement. Will ScreenPal recognize if we have already narrated an image into our video? I am not sure, Julia. I don't think it would recognize that you had already narrated the image. Um, if you run the audio description, it will add additional audio description to that video. Why is the audio? Okay. And it looks like Greg has done a pretty good job on answering some of these additional questions. Okay, cool. All right. All right. So that is kind of what we're looking at as far as how to update some of that legacy content quickly and easily by using the audio descriptions there. So we talked about using ScreenPal AI. I have all of these lovely little screenshots here for you as a reminder for where I clicked when I uploaded the video, as well as kind of a step by step. So you've got how to use the AI, how to upload your video, how to generate with AI, how to see the audio descriptions and listen to those. The blog post is again listed there if you want to look at that again. And then some of our time saving tips. Um, these are things that I would recommend if I were updating a multitude of legacy content at this point, would be to maybe batch my workflow. So process multiple videos in one sitting if possible, and apply the same workflow across similar content. I would also focus on good enough first. So, like making sure that I have those captions and audio descriptions included as much as possible. Aim for accuracy, but it doesn't have to be perfect right away. The key is to start being compliant at this point. And also standardizing your process. So, if you use the same steps for every video to prevent decision fatigue, you'll be better off. And you can create an internal checklist for your team, which again, we'll have for you in just a second. And like Kristen mentioned earlier, our AI is great. And I even pointed out that it's making less mistakes than it did when we first rolled some of this out, but it's still not perfect. So you still need to have a human, right? A real person reviewing the content that the AI generates for you. So ScreenPal AI can still handle a lot of that heavy lifting for you, but you can spend your time on quick edits and quality checks of the content that you create. So, after seeing this, what do you think your next step is? So, some of you guys were saying that you're in that audit stage, you're already maybe moving forward. So, are you going to focus on auditing and prioritizing your high traffic content? Are you going to start adding captions and transcripts? Are you like, look, I've already got the captions down. I need to figure out how to add the audio descriptions. Or would you like to focus on using AI to speed things up? So take a second to let us know in the chat. And again, I had really cute numbers on this, but my emojis just did not translate this time for some reason. They always do, but this time they didn't. So we've got a lot of people that are adding captions, auditing and prioritizing the content that they need to update. Oh, oh man, I went out of the chat and it went way ahead. All right. So we've already kind of hinted at how to create accessibly moving forward, but let's talk a little bit more about how to create accessibly moving forward. So we recommend to build accessibility into your workflow from the start, not because we don't want you using ScreenPal AI and using our audio descriptions, but we do want people to create with an accessibility first mindset. So this is some of our personal recording best practices, how to avoid common mistakes when recording, and some of our pro tips for scaling that content creation. So, as far as an accessibility first mindset, you want to try whenever possible to create accessible content from the beginning. So the easiest way to stay compliant is to create accessibly from the get-go. So whether this means that part of your workflow is just knowing that you're going to utilize ScreenPal for captions and for audio descriptions, that's totally okay too. But part of your workflow could also be that you start narrating visuals that are in your video as you're recording, if that's easier, and it becomes an ingrained part of your workflow when you're creating videos. You also want to do this because it will avoid time-consuming fixes later. So once you have a workflow figured out, it will help you avoid time-consuming fixes. And it makes it not an extra step, right? Like for us at ScreenPal, we also went through a period where we had to audit, like, and I'm sure Kristen can tell you about that. We had to audit even our existing tutorials and make sure that they all have, and I think we might still be going through some of that process. I'm not sure. But we have to make sure that they all have captions and audio descriptions as well. So that is something that we have done internally. And I'm sure, Kristen, you can tell us with your experience as our technical writer, not only some of those auditing best practices that you had in your workflow, but also some of those recording best practices.
Yeah, so these are things that you can do to make sure that the AI is giving you the best possible result when you do captions and audio descriptions. And some of them are somewhat intuitive, but I will go through them. Use high quality audio. So if you don't feel that your laptop speakers pick up your voice very well, you can get a microphone. Make sure you're recording in a quiet environment without a lot of background noise so that your voice is discernible. Speak at a steady pace and avoid overlapping speech. If there's more than one person narrating the video, you definitely don't want to be talking over each other because that's going to confuse the AI or any sort of narration. Um, Use intentional narration. So, like we talked about, describe key visuals as you present them, especially if you don't have access to those audio descriptions. That's a really good way to just seamlessly add them into your video without having to do any post-upload work. Read aloud important information that is presented on screen. Explain actions, charts, or demonstrations. So you really have to think about things that are important to your video that people would not be able to see and sort of dictate them. And keep simple, structured content. So keep the message of your content clear and organized, simple. Avoid cluttered visuals that are just confusing to people and require a lot of interpretation, and use consistent terminology. So if you have any techno or terminology that is specific to your organization, et cetera, you want to make sure to define it and stick to it and not use a lot of jargon and things like that that can become confusing to people.
Thank you. And that's something that we've done a lot with our tutorials that Kristen has done a great job of because we want those to be as short as possible. And we're trying to avoid any cluttered visuals in those as well. And then some of the common mistakes that people make. So, another key to having a quick workflow for creating accessibly moving forward is going to be to prevent issues before they even happen. So don't rely solely on visuals. So don't say, as you can see here, and then not explain what somebody would see on the screen. And ensure that your critical information is conveyed through your audio. So again, we're giving you some options for if you're like, I don't want a team plan, I don't want a solo max plan even, like how can I just make sure that my video is accessible? These are some ways that you can make sure that your video is accessible without even using AI, okay? You also want to, again, ensure the quality audio. So you're not having to go back and remove background noise. You're not going to have to go back and add volume. Of course, these are all things you can do in ScreenPal, right? Like you can increase the volume, but it will be much quicker if you don't have to go back on every single video and increase the volume. Unclear speech could make your content inaccessible even with the captions. So if you're not speaking clearly where the AI can't pick up what you said in the video, then that could be an issue as well. And again, don't skip the human review. AI is fast, but a quick human review ensures accuracy and clarity. When we finish this webinar, I don't really want to sit and go through an hour-long transcript of my captions, but I always make sure that I do to try and ensure accuracy as much as possible in my video. Now, some ways that you could scale. I promised you handouts, so here they are. Let it not be said that I did not deliver. A pro tip for scaling, number one, create a checklist for your team to use before publishing. Now, this first one, if you'll scan it, and if you opened the slides, you should be able to click on the QR code and it will take you to the handout. But we have the actual framework itself that we shared with you, if that helps you at all. And then we have a checklist that we'll share in just a minute. Another thing that can help you scale this accessibility and needing to make sure that your videos are ADA compliant is by building accessibility training into onboarding. So if you're onboarding new people that are maybe professors or instructors or teachers or trainers or talent development representatives or HR, then you can make sure that you're building that accessibility training in. So having a session similar to this in which you tell them what makes a video accessible and promoting those features that we have within ScreenPal, as well as promoting accessible content creation practices. Use templates or repeatable formats for consistency. So it's much easier if you use a template or something like the framework that you see here. So if you click on this, you should see the Get ADA Ready Fast Track Framework. If that helps you at all, this is just kind of a handout for what we went over. And then also you can scan this QR code for the ScreenPal Audio Descriptions Guide, that great blog post that we had. So definitely take a look at those resources. And that's something that if you want to take that back to your organization and share that with them to help audit and create accessibly moving forward and make sure that you're sharing out, distributing correctly those accessible videos that you created, then you can do that. So, what do you think you will focus on to create accessibly moving forward? Are you looking at high quality audio? Or are you like, you know what, you lit a fire in me and I'm going to buy a microphone for everyone on my team? Are you going to utilize intentional narration? Do you feel like maybe you're already creating accessible content, but you're not having human review of that AI generated content? Or do you want to start building accessibility into your team's onboarding? Okay. And we've got some alls in there. I should have done like an all of the above or a none of the above. All right. And now, Kristen, the last part that we have as people are finishing their answers here is how to distribute correctly. So, how can you distribute?
So what you want to do is use a ScreenPal approved method of distributing your content. So you can use a link. That's really great for just quickly sending your video in an email. You can use an embed code. And you want to make sure that you do this so that all of your beautiful captions and your audio descriptions stay in place. Sometimes when you do things like uploading your video from ScreenPal to YouTube, those captions get removed or they get changed, things like that. So just make sure that the accessible features that you have worked so hard to put into place stay there when you upload your content and go and look at the content after you've published it if you're using an embed code or you're publishing it to a website in some other way, and make sure that you can turn audio descriptions on and off and you can see the captions so that you know that your viewers can do the same.
And then, as far as your sharing options, um, don't stop, like Kristen said, at creation, right? So you want to share your videos via accessible links. You want to make sure that you are using a direct link, using an embed code, or using an LMS integration. So what we have pictured here is our direct link watch page that you can do. Right next to that, you've got your embed options. So to share my video, the three ways that we recommend sharing to make sure that those accessibility features stick, if you will, I'll use my plant cell video here, is clicking on share video. And this will take up that watch page. So I'll go on and share this, copy that link, I'll pop it right in the chat, and you can look at it if you want. Feel free to use that as an example for the audio descriptions. I can also click, my Zoom controls are in the way here, so let me move those over. Always, Zoom is always in the way. You can also click on embed options, and then you can pull an embed code for your video if you would like. So I'm going to just copy that code. And obviously, if you wanted to change your height or your padding or anything like that, and you know how to code that in, you can copy that code and code that in. And then you can also share this through a learning management system. So I could even share that code there. I could also click on interaction tools, and then I could create a quiz using my content and then share that quiz through my learning management system. So if you have questions about the LMSs that we support, I'm sure we can answer any of those in the chat. But, the key is to share that ScreenPal video to make sure that you still have access to all of those great features for accessibility. Okay. And then again, our advice to ensure that those accessibility features work is once you share it, go to where you shared it to. So if that is in an LMS, view it as a student in your learning management system and confirm first that the captions and audio descriptions are enabled when you share. Check that the playback controls allow easy access and then test it from the user's perspective. So log in and preview as one of the students or users that you would be sending that video to, the consumer of the video. And you can also verify it across devices by looking at it from a desktop view, a mobile view, or the learning management system view. And then just to reiterate, Kristen, what are we avoiding?
So we want, like I said, we want to avoid uploading to certain platforms that might strip away these features that you've worked so hard to incorporate. So sometimes that's YouTube or what have you. Override your captions, your audio tracks, things like that, and undo all your hard accessibility work that you've done. Forgetting to enable captions might be a big one. You did all the work to put them in there, but then you use an embed code and you forget to check the include captions box to configure your embed code, and so they don't end up getting pulled in. And then just make sure you break down the workflow. So download and re-upload. If you do download and re-upload videos incorrectly, sometimes you can lose accessibility. Like if you were to download your video as an MP4 and then re-upload it somewhere else, it could change some of the built-in features that you have. So you just want to make sure that you avoid all of that.
Thank you. And then, question for y'all, how are you going to distribute your content? Are you using direct links? Are you using embed codes? Are you like, wow, I didn't even know you had LMS integration and now I want to use that? Or if you have other ways that you distribute your content, how will you distribute your content using ScreenPal once you create that accessible content there? So feel free to share those answers with us in the chat. I am going to go on to the next slide because it is my other handout that I promised you, and we are almost done. And maybe I can even get you out a couple minutes early. Nobody would be upset about that, right? So this is a quick checklist for compliant publishing. So what I have on here is what I would recommend, what we would recommend at ScreenPal. So we talked about prioritizing kind of your core fixes if you're auditing that legacy content or creating new content. Common audio description triggers. So that is what would trigger you to need an audio description. So as you're looking at your video content, you can kind of use this as a checklist. Okay, is this a high impact video? Yes. Is this part of an active course? Yes. Are my captions present? Yes or no. Is the transcript available? Yes or no. Is the audio description there if the visual is not explained? Yes or no. And then common triggers like making sure that all on-screen text is narrated, making sure that charts, graphs, or demos are narrated or the audio description is provided, and then making sure that visual cues that are needed for understanding are narrated or the audio description is provided. So I know you've got a couple of ors on there, but it's just making sure that you are kind of literally, quite literally checking all of these boxes for each of those pieces of video content. So if you're kind of able to divide and conquer, or even if you are a singleton working on your content, then you can utilize this checklist to make sure that it is following those Title II ADA compliance guidelines. And then at the bottom, we just have those few time-saving workflow tips to batch process multiple videos, follow the same steps every time, and use AI to quickly review and edit, or then quickly review and edit, excuse me. So don't forget the human aspect that still has part in AI in that you need to check, oops, and make sure that it is the right thing. Okay. So again, before sharing any video, you can run through that checklist. And now a quick recap. You don't need perfection, just a plan and the right tools. You can upgrade to a ScreenPal team plan for access to our full, I call it an accessibility suite of features. And you can fill out our feedback survey for an attendance certificate. And we will email you the recording of today's webinar ASAP. So we did record today's webinar and we will email that out. I will probably have that email out, I'm thinking on Thursday, but definitely by the end of the week. So be on the lookout for that. And our last thing is this little feedback survey. So if you guys will fill that out for me, what's really helpful to me on this, I mean, obviously we love to know how we did. So those questions are very helpful, but I do look at these surveys to see what we're going to cover in our next webinar. So one thing that Kristen and I kind of have in the works is more of an advanced editing features webinar because we've had that request a few times now on our feedback survey after our getting started webinar. So please let us know what webinars you want to see in the future so that I can share that with our team and we can start planning those as well. All of our upcoming webinars are listed at screenpal.com/ScreenPal live events. We did change that a little bit. Let me put that in the chat. ScreenPal live events. We used to have everything at screenpal.com/webinars, but that's going to host all of our recorded webinars from here on out. And our upcoming webinars will be listed at screenpal.com/screenpal-live-events. So thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Kristen, for being my backup here.
Happy to
And
do
Greg
it.
and Amira in the chat. Um, oh, and thank you, Adam, for saying happy birthday to my daughter. She's turning 5. It goes really quickly. It goes really quickly. They say that the days are long, but the years are short, and they really feel short today. So thank you so much. But thank you guys for joining us again. And please fill out the survey. I will still share the survey in the follow-up email just in case you didn't have time to fill it out during the webinar. And let us know how we can help you moving forward. So, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we will talk to you later. Look for an email in your inbox. Bye.